Hello everyone, and welcome to another ASUG affiliate webcast. My name is Susan Revoletto, Membership Support Specialist here at ASUG. I will be your moderator for this event. I'd like to thank everyone for taking the time today to join us for this presentation. Today's webcast is being recorded. The link to the recording and the accompanying slides will be posted to the ASUG website, and all registrants will receive an email with the link to those materials. Today's webcast, What You Need to Know About COPA with S4 HANA Finance, is brought to you by ERPfixers. I'd like to remind our audience members that you can submit your questions at any time by clicking the purple Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. And now I'd like to hand it off to Paul.
Thanks, Susan, and thanks everyone for attending this webcast. I'll take you through the next 4 slides, and then I'll hand it over to the speakers. So first of all, what is ERPfixers? It's an online platform basically predominantly an online platform for where you can post SAP requests, questions, and issues. We have a team of expert consultants at hand and also some partners of ours. We also do optimization assessments, which provide a thorough analysis of your system for a specific module or function, and we show you where you're deviating from best practices and make recommendations to help steer you back on track. More recently, based on demand, we have extended this optimization service to companies that are considering a move to S4 HANA. So even if you have a year or 2 out, if you're thinking of what you need to do now based on your current setup, or what considerations you need to make your migration path smoother based on the new functionalities that are available, we actually help to provide that information, provide an analysis of your system, and help align the two to make it a smooth migration. One of the things we've had recently is some customers who are thinking of implementing a new functionality in the ECC system, but don't know if the best thing to do is to wait for S4 HANA or do it right now. So those are the kind of things that we try to help out with. So I'll just talk about the speakers. So first of all, there's myself, Paul Ovigele. I've been an ERP financials consultant since '97, so about 20 years, both in North America and Europe. I predominantly do the FI and CO modules. I have written a book on COPA called Reconciling COPA to the General Ledger, as well as one on the 100 things you should know about financial accounting. I'm also the founder of ERPfixers. Now, this topic of S4 HANA Finance and some of the functionalities, if you've heard about it, you would know that there are a significant number of changes that have occurred with S4 HANA Finance. In fact, if you're particularly in the finance department or supporting the finance department, if you look down at the categories in your financial statements, something has changed to almost each major category in S4 HANA Finance. For example, fixed assets is now the new fixed assets. Cash is now new cash management. AR and AP, so customers and vendors, they are now business partners. Inventory now flows through the material ledger. Cost objects such as cost centers, internal orders, project systems are now part of what is called the Universal Journal. Your primary and secondary cost elements are now GL accounts. Account-based COPA is now part of the General Ledger. So there is a significant number of changes that have happened, and I think it sometimes is overwhelming when you hear about it, because you're like, oh, what is this? This is like a whole, it is kind of going to disrupt everything we're doing right now, and what do we need to consider when trying to make that move to S4 HANA. So one of the things that we're trying to do is take this in very manageable chunks. Take one topic at a time, because even within one topic, there are several things that have changed. So over the next few months, we want to do at least one webcast a month on a different topic on S4 HANA. And one of the things we want to do, because I know a number of different companies and teams are doing things like this, we want to kind of drill down to a little bit of a lower level, something a little more practical, not just this is the new functionality and, this is what it does. It's more, this is the new functionality, right? But because you have ECC right now, what does that mean? What changes? What considerations do you need to make? And so that is where what we're trying to accomplish with some of these webcasts. So today we have two of the top S/4HANA Finance experts, actually I believe around, and I think you will have a lot of good information in this webcast about the specific changes with the Profitability Analysis module, or COPA. So we have Kavita Agarwal, who has worked as an ERP financials consultant since 2001. She has worked with medium to large-size SAP implementations and rollouts in several industries and geographies, and has been part of a major finance transformation program. She runs her own company called Ajita SAP Consulting Private Limited, and she pioneers in SAP education and niche consulting around S/4HANA. AJ Maheshwari has worked as an ERP financials consultant since 2006, specializing in implementing FI and CO modules in various industries. He's an official SAP mentor, and he's the author of several white papers and blogs in SAP, and he's worked as associate director at iTelligence in India. Now, just so you know, AJ, I don't know if you've attended one of our webcasts, he did a Q&A last year on the differences between the ECC and S/4HANA Finance. This was a 1-hour webcast. It was a live Q&A. We had 100 questions asked in 1 hour, and he actually managed to answer about 80 to 90% of them, which is a very good answering rate. So, very knowledgeable people we have, and I'm going to hand you over to Kavita to start this webcast. So, thank you very much once again. So, Kavita, over to you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, hello everybody. So today we will be covering all about Copa in S/4HANA. So we will see how account-based Copa is integrated with the Universal Journal. And once we discuss that, we will discuss how the characteristics in Copa is integrated with the Universal Journal in the table AC docker. Then we will see what to keep in mind when converting from costing-based Copa to account-based Copa. What are the do's and don'ts that we will see over there. And then we will learn how to perform real-time derivation in Copa, which is a new feature introduced in 1610. And then we will also see how to set up the breakup of cost of goods sold into cost components using account-based Copa. So earlier, cost of goods sold was a single entry, but now we can have the splits even with account-based Copa. So we will see the related configuration behind that and also how to set up and get the split of cost of goods sold. And at the end, we will have questions. So let's begin. So to address the challenges out of the existing architecture, SAP S/4HANA offers a new data model, and the new table AC Docker replaces several existing tables, including the line item tables BSEG, and combines the earlier discrete dimension of general ledger, controlling, asset accounting, profitability analysis, and material ledger into one single table. This means the business no longer need to do data reconciliation between financial accounting, management accounting, profitability analysis, asset accounting, etc., as all the dimensions are stored in one single place, that is table AC.A. The earlier discrete FI and CO documents are now combined into one universal journal, which means the legal view and the management view of any transactions are no longer separate, but they are married together. And the new line item table AC.A contains some of the key fields from header table BKPF as well, such as posting date, document date, etc. So to keep it simple, we can say that Universal Journal brings together the various diverse worlds of GL, AR, AP, asset accounting, controlling, and Copa. So our focus will be to understand what all changes are there on the Copa side. And what it means to the business is that no more data reconciliations, but they get end-to-end view of the data. With S4HANA Finance, SAP now recommends with S4HANA Finance, SAP now recommends account-based Copa for your profitability analysis needs, and which is a complete 360-degree shift compared to the earlier recommendation. Before S4HANA Finance, costing-based Copa was a recommended solution, but with S4HANA, SAP recommends AB Copa, which is account-based Copa, because it offers some detailed information in terms of splitting up the cost of goods sold and the manufacturing variances. It also lets you analyze the sales quantities in multiple units of measure. The performance of the profitability reports used to be much better in costing-based Copa, as the data was managed in separate set of tables like CE1, CE2, and CE3. In S4HANA Finance, costing-based Copa has remained untouched and continues to work like before. However, there would be no further developments in it. So let's now understand what has changed in the account-based Copa. As you can see on the screen, that all the characteristics are now part of the table AC docker. With S4HANA Finance, one key advantage of using account-based Copa is that all the Copa characteristics, whether standard or user-defined, get added to the table AC doc A. For an easy understanding, imagine the table BSEC getting topped up with Copa characteristics like sales organization, distribution channel, customer group, material group, and any user-defined characteristics. What will be its advantage? The Copa data and the FI data will now be persistent in the same table, putting all the reconciliation issues to rest. And at the same time, you can now drill down from the financial statements in FI to view the line items by product, by customer, by region, by sales employee, etc. And to add the Copa characteristic to the table AC doc A, you must run the program as you can see on the screen, which adds all the characteristics to the table AC doc A. And this would generate the operating concern automatically. With this, I hand over to Ajay, and he will take it forward from here and will explain the rest of the topic. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Kavita, and good morning to everyone. So now let's understand if someone wants to migrate from the costing-based Copa to the account-based Copa in S4HANA. So what all things they will have to keep in mind. So to start with, it would be the statistical condition types, because in the costing-based Copa, you have the option of using the statistical condition types, which won't be possible in the account-based Copa. Reason being, the account-based Copa is completely integrated with the FI. So how would you handle this in case you are using the statistical condition types? So basically, the workaround would be that you will have to add these conditions as the normal conditions in your SD pricing procedure, which would be posting into the FI. And then you will also have to add an offsetting condition, which would be offsetting that. Similarly, in the costing-based Copa, you have the option to use, the costing sheets or the user exits in order to perform the valuation, which won't be available in the account-based Copa. So, in case someone is using that, then you will have to move all the valuations into the SD pricing procedure. So, instead of using the user exit on the Copa side, you will have to use the SD routine in the SD pricing procedure. Similarly, in case you are using the allocation structure, that is say in the assessment cycles or for the purpose of the order settlements, so the allocation structures also will have to be revised. Reason being, when you are using the costing-based Copa, you can actually post the offset in the cost center or in the internal order using a single secondary cost element. But when you are using the account-based Copa, you will have to use a detailed allocation structure so that you can get a split in the account-based Copa. Then moving on to the next item would be the standalone postings that you make in the costing based Copa using KE21N. So this feature is never going to be available with the account based Copa. If you want to post anything in the account based Copa, it must be posted in the FI also. Then the next aspect would be the sign handling in the Copa. So when you are using the costing based Copa, how the plus or the minus sign is updated in the costing based Copa, it's very different. That is, the logic 8 would be different for the SD postings, and the logic 8 would be different for the FI postings. But when you are moving to account based Copa, then all the signs that you will see in the account based Copa, it would be similar to what you see in the FI side. So the users will have to get used to the new way of looking at the signs in the account-based COPA reports. Then, of course, in the S4HANA, then SAP also gives you the option to split the manufacturing variances as well as the cost of goods sold. So you will also have to do the delta customizing. Then you will have to do some of you will also have to update the MMFI integration settings in OBYC. Because in the account based Copa, you would use the the COGS account from GBBVAY instead of GBBVAX. Then you will have to define new COPA reports because the tables from which the reporting is accessed in the costing based Copa, it would be different in the account based Copa. So you will have to redesign all your reports. And then the most important aspect is to manage the historical information. So standard SAP doesn't offer you any kind of a tool which would be migrating all the historical information from the costing based Copa into the account based Copa. So this will have to be managed as a custom project itself. So these are the important points which you will have to consider in case you wish to migrate from the costing based Copa to the account based Copa in the S4HANA. So moving on to the next slide. Right. So now let us see how to perform the real-time derivation in the Copa. So this feature is a very interesting feature which got introduced with the S4HANA 1610. So the advantage here is that say for example, if you are making a posting into an internal order and the internal order has a settlement rule to the profitability segment. So when you make the posting to the internal order, the system would be deriving all the COPA characteristics from the settlement rule itself. So even before the internal order is settled into Copa, you still will be able to see this posting assigned to the profitability segment. So the advantage to the business is that they don't have to wait until the end of the month in order to see the values in the Copa. And if you wish, you can you may even leave the internal order in that way, even if you don't settle it, but still you will be able to see the values in the Copa. So now we will see system a demonstration of how to how to achieve that. So let's move on to the next slide. So I will be sharing my screen now so that I can show you a demonstration of this functionality. I hope my screen is visible now. Can I have one confirmation from someone? Something, right? Okay, perfect. All right. So first I would be showing you the configuration of that. So the transaction code ORKE, it will take you to the shortcut for the COP related IMG settings. We go to master data and activate the derivation for items without the profitability segment. So this is a new node which has been added in the version 1610 of S4HANA. So let's move on to the section for internal order. So here you can specify the order types. If you leave it blank, it would be applicable for all the order types. And here you can switch on that whenever you are making a posting in the internal order, so the system, it would be reading the profitability segment of the internal order, and it would be populating all the COPA related, that is other characteristics in the posting itself. So this is a very simple and easy to use configuration, and similar to the internal orders, it can be activated for the cost centers or WBS elements and so on and so forth. So now let's make a posting in the in the system. So the internal order that I have created is this. So this is the internal order. Let me take you into the settlement rule. So as you can see here, the settlement rule has been made to the profitability segment. And let us see how does the profitability segment looks like. So this profitability segment has one customer and one product assigned into this, right? So what will we do now? We will make a posting into this internal order. Just have a look at the vendor I am supposed to use. This posting I am making to the internal order only. That is, here I am not specifying any profitability segment whatsoever. Simulate and post it. So my document is successfully posted to the internal order now with the document number 19 all zeros 27. So the posting, as you can see here, it has been made to the internal order only. And here it is not assigned to any profitability segment. So let me now take you to the table AC top A. I'll choose ledger, 0L, company code this 2017 and document number. And as you can see here, the internal order used in the posting is assigned, of course, and the system has also assigned this posting to one profitability segment. And you can see the customer and the product is automatically read from the settlement rule of the internal order. So all of this has happened in real time, right? So I simply made the posting into the internal order, and system, it was automatically able to derive the customer and the product. And from the product, it was able to derive the material group. From the customer, it was able to derive the country and the ship to party and so on and so forth. So all of this has happened in real time without the user having to make any extra effort for that. So so I believe this should help you in order to understand what does real time derivation it stands for, and how it works and what will be its advantage to the end users in terms of reporting. So moving back to the presentation scheme. demo is what we have seen. Right. So now we shall learn how to achieve the split of the COGS, that is the cost of goods sold, using the account-based Copa. So earlier, that is in the ECC version of SAP, the split of the COGS, it was something which was available only in the costing-based Copa. It was not available with the, with the account-based Copa. So now with the S4HANA, so it is also possible with the account-based Copa. So what you earlier used to achieve only with the costing-based Copa, now it is also available with the account-based Copa. So moving on to the next slide. And the same thing happens with the variances also. So in the ECC version of the SAP, whenever the manufacturing variances used to post in the account-based Copa, it was only available as a single number. But in the costing-based Copa, you used to get it split in terms of the in terms of the price variances or the quantity variances or the usage variances and so on. But now with the S4HANA, the same level of the detail, it can be achieved even with the account-based Copa. So let us see how to achieve that. I would be sharing my screen once again. So let us screen the configuration first. Again, it's a very easy to use configuration. Periodic processing and integration. So it lies here. Materials management. Define accounts for splitting the cost of goods sold. So here you would be just, defining the splitting profile. You can give it any name of your choice. Specify your controlling area and the cost component structure, which is used in the costing. And here, what you would do is you would assign each cost of goods sold account, which is assigned in OP, YC, GBBBAX or CBAY. So this, so this one COGS GL account has now been split into these any multiple GL accounts on the basis of the of the cost component structure. So the cost component structure used here is this in terms of the material or the byproduct, third party, then manufacturing overhead, and so on and so forth. So for each of the cost components, you can assign one GL account here. So the advantage will be that whenever the PGI posting is done, so the posting, it will be split into the multiple COGS that is other GL accounts. So now let us see how to do that. So I have one sale order which I have predefined earlier to this session. Let's go to the picking tab, specify the quantity that I wish to deliver, and save the delivery first, and then I would post the goods issue. Once the PGI is done, we would see its accounting document. So now you can see here the system has posted, two accounting documents here. So in the first accounting document, you would see the normal COGS posting, which even used to happen in the ECC version of the SAP. That is, the cost of goods sold account would be debit and the inventory account would be credit. when we go back and check the second accounting document, you would see that the COGS posted in the first document, it would be reversed, and the posting will eventually be made into the multiple GL accounts. So with this, the user will be able to see in its, that is in the F5 financial statements itself, the user will be able to see the split of the COGS in terms of the raw material and labor, wages, overtime, this, that, so on and so forth. So all of this split, it will be available in the accounting document itself. So this feature for COGS split, it is available from S4HANA 15.11, the version itself. But in the version 16.10, it has been further refined. So all this posting, that is what you are seeing here in terms of the document 1 and the document number 2. Earlier, it used to happen in the single, that is, the document itself. Whereas starting with the S4HANA 16.10, SAP has split this posting into two documents. That is, in the first document, you would be seeing the normal FI posting, which used to happen, earlier. And in the second accounting document, you would see the split of the COGS. So this is the refinement which has happened with the S4HANA 16.10. Moving back to the presentation schema. Right, so that basically brings us to the end of what we were intending to show. So now, let us take the questions which are there in the window.
All right. Thank you, AJ. We are now starting the question and answer portion of our webinar. If you have any questions, now is the time to submit them using the purple Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. We do have a couple of questions here. The first one is, why doesn't the profitability information show on the G1 document display? Is it only visible in the ACDOCA table? Would this be confusing for users as they may think profitability information was not assigned?
Yeah. Okay, let me answer this question then. Well, so why the profitability segment is not shown on the GL document display? So it is, that is in order to maintain the consistency. So the user should be seeing in, the document the way he or she has posted it, but then at the same time in the backend, SAP had automatically, derived all the profitability, the segments. So when you look at the normal SAP report, let's say which were, available even with the ECC version, say the FBL 3N, you would still see the document as the user had posted it. But when you look at the reports available from the SAP Fiori app, so then you will be able to see his posting even with the profitability segments. So the user would still see the document as he or she has posted that, but then in the backend system would have enriched the document before posting this in the Universal Journal.
Thanks, AJ. I'll add to that as well that just recently I had a client ask about this particular functionality because they still wanted the general ledger to be more summarized. They didn't want to see like material number and all that in the general ledger, and they wanted to get the best of both worlds. See the general ledger summarized, are they traditionally used to seeing that? But going somewhere which is automatically reconciled with the general ledger and see the breakout. So that's another reason for that, that dual view of how things are.
Right. So
Thank
the next, right. So the next question from, Kirtivasan. So since since the values are posted to Copa in real time, what happens when we do the settlement of the internal order? Right. So when you do the settlement of the internal order, the picture, it won't be vitiated. So basically what would happen is that when you settle the internal order, so the earlier posting which was assigned to the profitability segment, it would be automatically offset, and eventually what you would see in the Copa, it would be only one posting. So at no point in time the values would be duplicated in in the Copa. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you for that, AJ. The next question. Hi, can you explain more on how cost center assessments can be reduced with real-time derivation?
Right. So the cost center assessments won't be reduced as such with the real-time derivation. Even though in real-time derivation, SAP has given you the option to derive the profitability segments even when the posting is made to the cost centers. But I believe it will not help you to reduce the number of the assessments. Reason being, when you allocate something, from the cost centers into the Copa, you normally allocate to a huge number of the profitability segments. So that functionality, it will still be possible only with the assessment cycles. So I believe this function, so the new feature, it won't help you to reduce anything in terms of the cost center assessments.
Thank you. The next question is, we don't have Copa now, but plan on implementing on 1/1/18. In addition, we are going to start HANA implementation in 2018. Are there advantages or disadvantages to waiting to implement Copa with the HANA implementation? What things should we consider?
Okay, so you say you plan on implementing on 1/1/18, and then you are going to start HANA in 2018. All right. So, well, it is. I would say it's a matter of choice. You can implement the Copa right away, as well, or if you want to implement it after going to S/4HANA, that is also fine. But in case you wish to activate the Copa in the ECC version itself, I would say you should go with the account-based Copa, because once you move on to S/4HANA, you would be naturally inclined to move towards account-based Copa. So it makes sense that you activate the account-based Copa itself right away with the ECC itself.
Yeah, and I'll agree with that, and just back that up by saying another experience I have with a client is that if you don't have the account-based Copa activated and you wanted some historical information, you wouldn't get that. So when you go to account-based COPA, because the custom-based COPA is in a totally different table, whatever is posted in custom-based COPA, when it comes to from a value field standpoint, you would not necessarily be able to get that in account-based COPA. So if you wanted some historical data, you might want to get account-based COPA implemented before you go on HANA. And also, another thing that you have to think about is that in account-based COPA, the assessments are different, right? The top-down distribution is different. So it's also good to get used to that information before HANA. You can afford to do so.
Thank you, Paul and AJ. The next question is, we are currently on ERP 6.0, and COPA is set up as costing-based and accounting-based. Is this configuration no longer valid on S/4HANA? Does it have to be one or the other?
I believe AJ and Kavita, does one of you want to answer that one?
Yeah, Paul. So the question is that they're on ECC ERP6 and Copa is set up as costing based and accounting based. Is this configuration no longer valid on S/4HANA? It has to be one or the other. No, you can have both costing based and account based Copa active in S/4HANA. But SAP recommends to have AV Copa because all the developments that SAP will be making in future will be on AV Copa. So CD Copa, that is costing-based Copa, is put on maintenance mode. So recommended is account-based Copa, but you can have both or one, it's your choice.
Thank you for clarifying, Kavita. The next question is, how was the customer determined in the profitability segment when posting on to an internal order?
Yeah, so the customer was there in the profitability segment and it was determined from the profitability segment itself.
Thank you.
Right. So basically, when the posting was made to the internal, the order, so the SAP has automatically, that is, the posting has accessed the settlement rule of the internal order, and the profitability segment, it was accessed from there. Yeah.
Thank you. The next question, when you say internal order, with real-time profitability reporting, I assume you also mean production order or PCCS, etc.?
Yeah, well, it can be possible even with the production order or the cost collectors, but the practical usage of that, I believe it would be lesser. Because normally you make the postings to the production orders, such as say the raw material consumption or the labor hour consumption and so on. So these postings normally you would be settling the order at the end of the month. So the practical usage of this functionality for the production orders or the PCCs, it would be lesser. But especially for the internal orders or the WBS elements, it would be more.
Perfect, thank you. The next question is, we're currently using costing-based COPA in our ERP6. ERP6 system today with lots of exit to validate or substitute the COPA values. Could you share what's the key consideration we should think about when migrating from ERP 6.6 to S/4HANA on-premise?
Just a minute. Okay, so the question is, lot of exit to validate or substitute the Copa values. Okay, all right. Well, so if you are, so I believe you have used the COPA exit, that is say the COPA 000 5. So this exit, it's native only to the costing based Copa. So in case you have used that, it won't be available with the account based Copa. However, if you have used the exit COPA 0001 for the purpose of the derivation, that is still available in the account based Copa also. In terms of the validations, I would not be able to answer because that is specific to each client. So unless and until I know what are the validations written for, I would not be able to answer it properly. But as long as in order to substitute the characteristics is concerned, that is still going to be possible. You can achieve that with the exit COPA 0001. However, if you were using the exit COPA 0002 in order to do the valuation, so that will have to be shifted to the SD pricing procedure in terms of a pricing routine.
Right, and one thing you have to be careful of with user exits in costing-based in relation to moving over to account-based is that with account-based, you want every value has to be exactly what's in the general ledger. So as AJ was saying, if your user exit is based on the characteristics in COPA, then that's fine because the characteristics in account-based and costing-based COPA are from the same table. But if your user exits are changing value fields in costing-based COPA, you probably don't want to do that in account-based COPA, which is meant to tie to the general ledger, because if a value is changed in account-based COPA, a general ledger value has to be changed as well. So I think that's the type of case where you want to think about the rationale for, if your user exit is based on value fields, think about what is that user exit doing? Is this doing something to a general ledger account? Is there meant to be a general ledger change as well? Or is it some kind of statistical posting like, what if, we had a certain accrual or something like that? That's what you have to think about when you're considering the change or the impact of user exits on account-based COPA. If it's value-based, then you have to think about what the impact on the general ledger is.
Thank you, guys. The next question. Can multiple operating concerns be integrated within the universal journal? If so, how can they be distinguished?
Yes, absolutely. So if you are working for a customer who has the multiple operating concerns, so what will happen is that the characteristics from both the operating concerns, it would be a part of the AC Docker structure. So how would you be able to differentiate then? I guess you will be able to differentiate it in terms of the company code, because eventually, you will be able to relate the company code with the operating concern, right? So identifying the operating concern once posted into AC Docker, that should not be a problem, at all. But yes, you can obviously integrate the multiple operating concerns with the universal journal.
Thank you. The next question is, we use statistical values field in our COPA assessments. How do we utilize statistical items in our assessments going forward?
I could not understand this question. Actually, if it can be rephrased, maybe I can answer it later.
Okay.
For a question like that, I think if the person who asked that question can flesh it out a little bit, either within this webcast or maybe offline, maybe just post it or send us an email or answer in more detail. Because for me, one thing that needs clarification is, what is the statistical value field? So there are statistical conditions mapped to value fields, but what does a statistical value field mean? If you could just explain that a little better, that would help.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. The next question is, so in what cases can we use cost center related real-time derivation? I am trying to understand where we can use it. Thank you.
Yeah, so this would, probably be the case where the values in a cost center, you are not, allocating between the profitability segments, but say you are simply charging it to one profitability segment. So, say for example, you have a sales office that is say in northern region. So the values which are posted in cost center related to the sales office, you simply assign it to the profitability segment having the region is equal to north. So instead of doing this from the assessment cycle, you can simply write, derivation rule saying that if the posting is made in this cost center, then the system should be automatically populating the region, is equal to north. So in this way, at the end of the month, so even if you do not allocate the values from this, cost center to that one profitability segment, still the values would be visible over there.
Thank you. The next question is, now that CO objects are part of the universal journal, can you still have statistical postings when you post to more than one CO object?
Yes, obviously, yes. You can still have the statistical postings. So what happens is that the statistical postings that is reflected in the table COEP, whereas the real postings, it goes into the table AC Docker, and very soon you would see that even the statistical postings, so these would be managed in the AC Docker table itself.
Thank you. The next question is, when you perform a COPA realignment in S/4HANA, can you realign the company code as well?
Absolutely not. Company code is not a characteristic which can be realigned. So SAP has, you can say, hard-coded that some of the characteristics, cannot be realigned, whereas some of the characteristics, can be realigned. So if you want a list of that, you can drop me an email offline, and I can send you a list of all those characteristics.
Thank you, AJ. The next question, can the real-time derivation be done on a cost center? If so, does the cost center have to be set up as a characteristic in COPA?
Yes, real-time derivation on the cost center, it's possible, and for that you will have to have the cost center as a characteristic in the Copa.
Thank you. The next question is, when you activate account-based COPA in S/4HANA for the first time, can you post the historical transactions from the beginning of the year?
I think yes, that should be possible, because SAP, even traditionally it gives you a transaction whereby you can post the historical transactions into the COPA. So this, I believe, it should be possible.
Thank you. The next question, is there an automated way to migrate from costing-based COPA to account-based COPA?
Absolutely not. One will have to think about the points which I have explained, I think, in the slide number 8 or so. So all of those things will have to be kept in mind, and then the most important thing, you will have to have a custom program which will be migrating all the historical postings from the costing-based Copa to the account-based Copa.
Thank you, AJ. All right, it looks like that's all of our questions for today. If anyone does have any other questions, please feel free to submit them, and Paul, Kavita, and AJ will reach out to you directly. Paul, AJ, Kavita, do you guys want to say any last words?
Well, I'll just say thank you very much for attending the webcast. I hope it was useful. And as I said, we're trying to impart knowledge about all the differences that have come with the new S/4HANA functionality. So if you just watch out for the future webcasts we have one next month on the new fixed assets module, and I think we'll have one material ledger after that, and just go from there. So thank you very much for attending.
All right. Thank you, Thank you, Paul, Kavita, and AJ for a great webcast. On behalf of ASUG, I'd like to thank ERPfixers as well as all of you who took the time out of today to attend this webcast. The recording and the slides from today's program will be posted to the ASUG website, and all registrants will receive an email with the link to those materials. With that, I would like to close today's webcast. Have a great rest of your day, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Stan. Thank you. Bye-bye.